Hey, welcome back to the CommonGround North Dakota Podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Jen.
I've been a chef for 10 years.
And I'm a registered dietitian. We've all heard the saying, farm to table. But what if the conversation was table to farm?
Join Jen and I as we sit down with ag experts to dig in and find out more about North Dakota agriculture. Welcome back to another episode of CommonGround North Dakota Podcast. I'm Heather.
I'm Jen.
And we're in studio.
Yay! I love being in studio, learning from guests.
Yes.
We always learn something, just fun facts that I can then use throughout the week.
Well, and I meant to bring like a piece of paper so I could take notes.
Yeah.
Because last episode, there was a lot of facts.
There was a lot of facts. I know. And I feel like we have to rewatch our own episodes to retain the knowledge. Mm-hmm. Don't they say like you have to hear it so many times?
A couple times.
As adult learners. So for our listeners, that might be a good idea to rewatch our podcast.
Go back and listen, or you can watch on YouTube, which is kind of fun because then you can see the facial expressions, which...
Yes, we have lots of facial expressions that have sometimes been captured on social media.
Thanks for that, guys.
Yeah,
love it when my mouth is wide open. And why do they always do that to us?
They find the best or worst screenshots of us.
So can't wait to see what we look like from today's.
Yeah, great.
And I hope we're not scaring our guests.
I know.
Because it'll be fine.
Yeah,
everything's
it'll be great.
Fine.
It's just a casual conversation about
barley, which we haven't talked about.
No, we haven't. But it's an essential
We need
prep.
it. Yes.
So we have Nathan here.
Nathan,
welcome. Nathan.
Thank you.
So do you consider yourself a barley expert?
Well, I'm the smartest barley guy in the room, I guess. So
Yes, that's a good answer.
Kind of like being the smartest guy or the smartest guy in the dumb row, really. So that's no offense. I hope that.
No,
are we starting off on the wrong foot?
We're not offended.
Okay.
We're not offended.
Okay.
So tell us, you are a barley farmer?
Yeah, we grow barley amongst other crops, wheat, soybeans, canola, oats and stuff. But barley's 10-15% of our acres we plant every year.
Okay.
Okay.
And are there a lot of people growing barley in North Dakota?
There's quite a bit, not as much as there used to be, especially like in our area. It just, as the delivery points kind of moved out of our area, the barley ended up getting hauled quite a bit further than it used to. So some people have kind of shifted away from barley to other crops. A lot of corn has taken some of those acres. But barley's been pretty consistent, though, across the state of North Dakota.
But the transportation just is a little bit of an issue?
Yeah, like our barley, we ship it about 200 miles one way. So it's when we take off that truck, we sure hope we're coming home empty and we don't get rejected for quality issues. So.
And where's it going?
We deliver to Anheuser-Busch, kind of east of Carrington, about 30 miles. So.
Oh, because, beer, right?
Beer.
Yep.
Barley and beer.
Yeah, about 75% of the barley gets used for malting and brewing. The other 20-25% is for essentially pet food. And there's a small fraction within that for human consumption, but mostly malting, brewing, and then pet food would be the other major market. So.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's so cool, right?
So when I'm having my vanilla malt with extra malt, that's barley, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So
that's my order at Dairy Queen. It's very good.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Keep it up.
Yes.
It's good. Because it's got this flavor to it, right? It just adds like this depth. I love it. It's kind of nutty.
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Does it smell like that when you're harvesting?
No, that's a process. After the barley's malted, that's what you get. When you malt that barley, it breaks down the starch in that kernel and turns it to sugar, essentially. And that's when they grind that, then you get that, kind of that earthy tone with the grain and then the sugars and that's where you get that malt flavor.
So it's a malting process.
Yeah.
Okay.
The raw barley, if you would pearl that or you take the hull off of the kernel, then you'll see like a pearled barley soup. Like the whole kernel.
Which is delicious.
I've actually put it in beef stew too. It's delicious in beef stew. My mother-in-law taught me that little trick.
Yep.
But it's the same barley. So the barley, Yep.
Yeah. Like when it's malted, they don't pearl it. They just soak it in water.
Okay.
And then they let that grow for 5 to 7 days, until that starch is modified to a sugar. And at that point, then it goes into a kiln, basically, and they kill the germ, and that starch in that kernel is converted to sugar, and away they go. So
wow. So that's how beer's made?
After that, it goes. That's just the malt process. Then it goes to the brewer, and they basically take that malt with water, and they boil that, and they get what they call the wort. It's the sugar water essentially.
Wort.
And,
Interesting.
Yeah. And then they put yeast in there, and yeah, there's a few other things. I'm sure there's some craft brewers right now that are just screaming at their.
But yeast is important. That's the big one.
That's a very, very simplified process, and and out of that you get beer. But there's a lot of steps to it, and a lot of little factions to it.
Well, and beer's a big business. I mean, you mentioned Anheuser-Busch.
Yep.
But so your part, is it the U.S. Barley Council?
I'm actually the chairman of North Dakota Barley Council.
North Dakota Barley Council.
Okay.
Yep. So our role within that council is we take there's a 2-cent check off on every bushel of barley grown in North Dakota.
Okay.
We take that money, use it to for variety development. Like, work closely with NDSU for like variety development. We work with the plant pathology department to try and fund projects to improve the quality of barley, make it easier to grow for the farmers.
Okay.
We also, we take, some of that money, we partner with like NCI, the Northern Crops Institute.
Okay, yeah.
And they develop programming for some of the food barley program markets, and we're putting those programs on worldwide.
Wow.
So we've had virtual food barley programs in Southeast Asia, just trying to promote mostly North Dakota, but U.S. barley for as a food product, and had some success with that. There's lots of different partnerships. We also, the other part that's near and dear to my heart is the U.S. Grains Council.
Okay.
So that firm basically is, their focus is global exports of corn, sorghum, and barley. But I'm the barley guy, I guess, for the U.S.
You
Grains Council.
represent barley.
We were in Guatemala last week. We had a Grains Council meeting, so we were down discussing exports for corn, sorghum, and barley, and ethanol, and DDGs, and the whole.
Right.
Oh my!
So
it's like a national or a worldwide thing.
Yeah,
like where
every
you're going
5
to
years
promote.
we try to go somewhere where where there's a ethanol market or a DDG market, something, we want to go visit that place in person just to kind of see. Not that we ship a lot of barley to Guatemala, but we did have a meeting with Guile Brewing when we were down there.
Great.
And they have some interest in kind of diversifying their supply chain, and would like to visit further about getting some U.S. barley down to Guatemala. So you never really know what meeting's gonna stick. Not everyone's a win, but every once in a while you get one, and it's you never know where it's going to take you. So.
Right. Yeah. And you have to get out there and meet people, like you said, and network and educate. We talk a lot about that. And like, how do we get the information like from experts like yourself out to our consumers? And I think it's through a variety of means, but networking and word of mouth, and like, I think that always helps.
The craft beer market has been huge for that communication, where, some of these craft brewers are buying what we call craft malt, right?
Sure.
So, a small brewery, they have small craft malt facilities. Like we have a 2-track malting in Bismarck, North Dakota, for instance, and they have the ability to take a sample of malt, and they can have a code on the bag, and you scan that, it'll show the farmer that grew it, the field where it was grown, the practices they used. So the craft brewer can take that story, put it on the wall, and here this barley was grown by this farmer, and that's really resonated, especially on the craft side. That traceability back to
and consumers want to know that, right? They want to know the story, where it came from, how it was grown. It just adds.
Yep.
And I think there's been like a lot more promotion of like promoting and supporting local. So I think that's a great story. And like, we want to support our neighbors and our friends and our family. And if there's that story, chances are that helps to promote that product.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the farmer. So I think it's a win-win, definitely.
And I'm sure when it's beer, people are just like, I'll support you.
It's a terrific avenue to get to know somebody. Like, let's go sit down and have a beer. And it's not that we want to, it's just what we have to do.
You have to do it.
So
it's
it's
part
the
of your
sacrifice
job.
you make.
I mean, it's a tough one, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah,
so we got ahead of ourselves. We didn't even get to ask you, tell us, how long have you been farming?
Right. Your
Give us a little backstory.
My story, oh boy. I guess, I suppose I've been farming for 24 years already now.
Okay.
Get thinking about that. But we farm up north of Minot, North Dakota, about an hour between Newburgh and Bottineau.
Okay.
And my wife and I, we have 2 kids. My daughter's a freshman in high school, and my boy's a 6th grader. So,
Okay.
So yeah, that's everybody asks, well, what's your hobbies? What do you do? And I'm like, well, we chase after sports.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
Right.
it's like 4 days a week. So that's if I'm not going to a barley meeting or have something going on barley related, every once in a while I try to farm a little bit, but it's
Try to work that in.
Work gets in the middle of your social life.
It gets a little wild, but
Do your kids help out on the farm?
a little bit, yeah. They're getting into it. I look back when I was growing up. There's a picture of me holding a lunchbox and a diaper, and I'm waiting for Dad to come pick me up. Right?
Oh, that's so cute.
I grew up on the armrest of an 8450 John Deere. Like that's,
I love it.
Now we have buddy seats and climate control and all this stuff.
Life
and
of luxury.
But every operation is so technical now. So it's like, to find something to turn them loose on, it's like, well, just go grab that $1 million piece of equipment. Just go. It's like,
right. Yes.
But there's definitely some jobs that they help out with that are lower tech, like running a broom and such.
Sure.
Right.
So, everyone needs to know how to do that.
Absolutely.
Life skills.
Yes. So you grew up on a farm.
Yeah. Okay. I actually live a half mile south of where I grew up. So
that's cool.
You meet some of these people at the Grains Council and such. They've lived in this country, then they moved across the world, and they're like, "What's your story?" I'm like, "Well, I'm living a half mile south of where I grew up." So,
which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Right?
You know the area.
Yeah.
You know the people.
Yeah. I went to college at NDSU for 4 years, got an ag degree, and then about the time I graduated, then there's some opportunities that opened up at home, so that afforded me the opportunity to move home. And
good timing.
And the rest, they say, is history.
I know, right?
So
you mentioned you work with NDSU and maybe other universities, the Northern Crops Institute, on like developing varieties. So how has that changed in your like farming career, like as far as varieties? What's changed like with how you grow your barley? Yeah,
there's been lots of changes. When growing up, we always grew 6-row barley.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw a term.
What's that?
6-row and 2-row barley. So if you take the head of a barley plant, if there's just 2 rows of kernels going up and they're side by side, that's considered a 2-row barley.
So they're like a braid.
Yeah, they're opposite of each other. And there's a 6-row barley, and that has 6 rows of kernels.
Well, wouldn't you want that more? Barley?
Yeah. The thing about the 6-row, like from a farmer's perspective, agronomically it was better for us. Like it handled itself in the field better, didn't tend to sprout as much, but the malt extract they get out of the 2-row is higher. Oh. The kernels are plumper.
Oh.
So
more is not better all the time?
Right. They want that malt extract. So if they're buying a bushel, they want as much extract as they can. And even a % or 2 changes their economics quite a bit. So it's basically the whole industry has shifted to a 2-row.
2-row.
And so we just have to manage it differently. Like we don't swath our barley anymore. We used to swath. Now it's all straight because it's just more apt to sprout. So we're letting it stand. We're combining it wetter. Like we used to we'd swath it, let it get dry, and then we'd combine it, no problem. Well, now it's to get it out of the field in a timely manner. We start basically as soon as we can get it through the combine. We're combining, so it smells like you're mowing a lawn.
Really?
A lot of times when you're combining barley, it's so green. The straw is.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you want to get it out before it dries?
Just because of the sprouting. And the longer it stays out there, and the more apt it is to, rain or even a heavy dew, fog can just take that quality away. So it's like as soon as we can get it in the bin, we'll put it in there, we have fans on all our bins and get it dried down in the bin under our conditions,
Right.
And,
you can control it more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
I see. So that's significantly different. I remember swathing. Yeah. Like my family grew barley.
Okay. I pretended that I knew what that meant and I don't. So can we?
Yeah. Go back.
What is that?
Basically, when you swath it, you cut the crop and you put it into a windrow, so you just lay it on the ground, but that kills the plant and allows that to dry. Oh. Whereas now we let it stand, and then of course now we're using more fungicides to control disease, and so that keeps that straw greener longer. And those are all issues that we've had to deal with. But through we have better bins, and there's been some investments made to grow barley. Like it's not just a secondary crop anymore. If you treat it like a primary crop and spend the money on the infrastructure and treat it like a cash crop that it is, it can treat you very well, but it has been a significant investment in infrastructure. So
I remember like having a little sample, and then my dad would say, "Well, just put some in your mouth and chew it." Yep. So we did. It's like gum. Mm-hmm. It gets to be like gum. That's what I remember about barley.
If you get really good, you can tell the moisture just by biting the kernel. You know?
Really?
I'm not calibrated all the time, but
Okay, it's like cooking a steak, how you can touch it to know.
Yeah,
goodness.
exactly.
This is medium.
But okay, you were saying that you hope once the grain gets to where it's going that it's what it needs to be. So you can't test it on your farm before shipping it off?
We can, but there's a number of factors. Protein, it's plump, test weight. Probably the biggest wild card is the vomitoxin levels. And that's...
Oh, yes. I've heard that's like a term that I haven't heard for years.
That?
What is it?
That's the longest 4-letter word you could...
Yeah.
No, it's a fungus that grows on the kernel. And if they malt or if they brew with a kernel that has too much vomitoxin, your beer can it'll foam.
No one wants that.
You'll get a foamy beer.
Right.
And if you drink too much of it, you can get sick. But I think maybe that comes from something else. If you drink too many beers, you might get sick.
Could be the beer.
Yeah.
But but they measure that in parts per million.
Okay.
And that could vary. We can load a load, and that test. It's not like something we can just test at the farm. It's kind of a lab level test. So you send samples away to your buyer, and I tested good, and then you load a truck, and you hope it's okay, but parts per million can, you get the wrong kernel in a test. It can,
That's stressful.
So it's.
But you're finding ways to limit it.
Yeah, we with the fungicides that we're growing and the crop rotations and things, we've been able to navigate that pretty well the last few years. We haven't had a lot of vomitoxin issues, not like we used to.
Okay. So
the fungicides have gotten a lot better, and weather's been on our side. So, but some years you get a weather event and everything goes against you and you're just, it's a huge risk. Right. So
things you can't control, right?
Right. You go from, and the pet food market's been good because that's if it doesn't make malt, we're able to send into the pet food markets. They're able to handle a little more vom than the malt. Okay. So we have a decent outlet, but before, if you didn't make malt, you were down to like a feed barley, like going into the, cattle feed. And that went from, making money to not profitable.
Yeah.
Like you got rid of it, but you were losing money. So
and for all the work that goes into it.
Yeah. So it's it's test your will quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure. So thank goodness for technology.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In a way, but now we're testing parts per million. So technology is not always good too.
Because it's so
Makes
precise.
Makes sense. It can go against you at times.
Yeah. There's actually a fungus in the barley that's really bad for pet food, and they measure that in parts per billion.
Oh, what's that?
I'm not even trying to say the name. I can't remember it, but it's more on the pet food side. It's a fungus that grows in wet. If it's wet in the bends, it'll grow.
Get it.
And but that's a parts per billion.
So.
It's really incredible how they can test those
precise.
things, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, yikes.
Well, I was just thinking when you were talking about, the beer, pouring the beer and not getting the foam. How many bartenders appreciate you limiting that? Because, I've worked behind a bar and trying to pour the beer with the foam. It's so hard. Yeah.
So
there's a technique and an art to it.
I wonder if they know North Dakota farmers are working on that, trying to help you.
Yeah. Maybe not. So technology we've covered like the malting process. So you mentioned like the travel, like your product goes 200 miles. Is that one way again?
Yep.
One way.
And then most of that gets malted through the Moorhead malt plant there. Anheuser-Busch has that big elevator just across the line. That's the big malt plant. So our barley would more than likely end up there. But
So how many locations are there in North Dakota to send barley to?
There's, for Anheuser-Busch, there's two basically in Sutton, and then West Fargo, you can deliver barley. Rahr Malting has the big facility just north of Hillsboro at Taft. There's all those bins. That's Rahr Malting. That's a receiving facility for them, but it probably gets malted down in Shakopee, Minnesota. That's probably it for the malting. There's the pet food locations kind of scattered throughout the state that you can deliver pet food to. But.
So do you find then, Nathan, that like barley growers are central, like in certain parts of the state more just because of that?
You would think, but it's kind of all over the state.
Oh, okay.
You know, I have friends that are on the Barley Council, and they farm down by Hettinger, which you know is about as far southwest in the state as you can get, and they deliver to West Fargo, so it's 350 miles. You know, and so they'd love to have a local delivery, but that's just the nature of the receiving point. So there's barley's growing all over the state, actually. You know, almost more in the west. A lot around Devil's Lake is kind of a big hot area for barley. And then west, south, and getting in the valley. You know, corn and beans have kind of taken over. So the barley's kind of shifted west. But so, it's a lot of miles, but it's
that's interesting.
It makes business sense to do it, so that's why we do it.
Sure.
So.
Wow.
So how long have you been farming barley? Your whole career?
Yeah. I grew barley growing up. I mean, it's been around forever. So it's not as itchy. Some of these new varieties aren't as itchy as some of the ones growing up, you know.
I remember that.
Yeah, you can.
You're like, I just got the like.
Really?
Walking through the field, like the little, what do you call them?
The awns there. Yep.
Itchy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to come out next July, we'll be combining barley, and you can experience it too. And then once you've done it, you'll never forget it.
Obviously, I haven't walked through a barley field for years,
and you still remember.
I still remember that feeling. I got chills.
Yep. There's nothing better than a shower at the end of the night.
Yes,
you know, when it's 100 degrees and you've been doing barley all day, and it's
So where do you see barley moving? Like there's been so many new things. Is there anything in the future you feel?
Well, there's some interesting things going on. I mean, Mexico's our big export market for barley, you know, so and a lot of that goes down as malt, you know, so it's a value added product going to Mexico.
For cerveza.
Yeah. So we work with like Constellation Brewing. They do like Corona and Modelo.
Oh wow.
So they do a fair bit of direct contracting right into North Dakota, and from producer direct contracting, as well as they purchase from malt companies. But that's been a up and coming, growing market. Last May, actually, through Grains Council, I went over to China, and we were over there kind of promoting U.S. craft malt, like we were talking, like the 2-track, some of these small malts. Went over there just to promote that, to see what kind of interest there was, and the interest was phenomenal. You know, and that's the only way that probably U.S. can compete into China. Is a value added premium product, because most of the barley comes out of Australia, ships right up to China. So we'll never be able to compete cost wise with Australia. That being said, for the last 3 years, there's been a tariff on Australian barley going into China. So it kind of disrupted the whole barley flow. Like we had Australian barley coming into Mexico, and it's just everything got skewed. The Canadian barley was going to China. It was a mess. And so that tariff has now gone away. So we're starting to see the normal pattern. Australian barley going into China, and that's just raw barley, cheap. Like we're not going to be able to compete with that. But
they're not doing the craft style like you are.
Right. So we went over there, and went to Beijing for. Actually, we're lucky enough we had a half a day. We got to go see the Great Wall of China.
Oh, fun!
And Tiananmen Square, like that was awesome. And and then from there we flew down to Shanghai, and they had a craft brewers convention there.
Wow!
So that's where we had a booth, cool. And we had our craft malts out there, and the people walked by. I mean, that booth was busy all day. Like people are just blown away at the quality and the consistency of the product. They're not seeing that over there, and so a lot of interest. The problem with that is the volumes that they're asking to have delivered over there were just more than what we could handle from a craft side right now.
Sure,
there's expansions going on, but it's a huge market. There's 1.4 billion people live in China. So their craft market is where the U.S. is or was like 10 years ago. So
it's booming.
It's booming, and we so we met with some craft brewers over there. We actually went to one of the guys' facilities.
Cool.
He started a brewery December of 2019. Terrible time.
Yeah, terrible timing.
Needless to say, that first brewery did not succeed. Right. So he came back, started another one, but the size and the scope of his brewery was it was mind blowing. I mean, it was modern. This was not a, craft brewer in the garage type thing.
Sure.
It was highly technical. It was huge, good guy. And he was just a huge champion for U.S. products. So.
That's great.
So we'll see. There's potential over there for sure.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point with that, in that North Dakota is international with a lot of different crops. And like you think of North Dakota farmer, you think we just stay here.
Yeah.
Right? We just stay in North Dakota and we do our thing. Well, that's not the case anymore. That might have been the case for like my grandpa, maybe your grandpa, but like not anymore.
No.
You're going to different countries to promote products for sale. And that just has changed immensely over the last 20, 30 years.
Well, 95% of the world's population lives outside of the U.S. So, it's
you gotta.
Our products got to go somewhere.
Well, and you bringing it there, there's no better way to show your product. Say, I grew this. Here it is. You can see the quality. You can answer all the questions. And I'm sure that's really respected.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yes.
The craft brew.
Wow. In
market.
Shanghai.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. It was
That's
amazing. I never would have thought I'd go to China for
to promote your product.
Yeah.
Well, and so then what do you do with that? Because you see the opportunity, right? And you said you were doing about 10 to 15% of what you're growing now is barley. Like, do you think maybe I should grow more barley?
Well, barley's it's basically evolved into a contract only crop, right? So if we don't have a contract for it before we seed, we really don't grow it. And for the most part, those contracts are coming from the big brewers, right?
Okay. Yep.
Your RARs, your EBs and such. The craft malt is, it is what it is. It's just a small part. That being said, they're shipping malt all over the U.S., but they're quite small. So it's not going to change the economics of barley, statewide. But it's, so we're basically tied to what the brewer or what the malt companies are willing to offer us for volumes and price. There just isn't a lot of open market barley grown, and that's what we struggle with. We want to export barley, right? We ship to Mexico. Well, we'll take some barley. We'd like to try it. Well, we don't have any. We'll contract it. It's like, well, we'll try it. Okay, and so there's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right?
That could be complex.
Yeah.
So that didn't used to be that way. It's just it's morphed into this kind of a specialty crop and grown under contract almost exclusively. So
it makes sense for you as a farmer.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been good to us. It's been good for the brewers need to know what the volumes that they're getting in. We need to know a price. So overall, it's been good. That being said, the last 2 years, we had 2021 was a huge drought, right? And that was a drought for all the barley producing areas. Montana, Idaho, North Dakota, huge hit on the barley production. So 22, 23, we came back strong. We had really good production kind of throughout the whole barley producing areas, and we had really good acceptance, right? So our yields were good. Nothing really got rejected for feed.
That's good.
So the pipelines are now full, right?
Great.
So, and all the while, we're seeing a shift from beer to liquor. It's just consumer preference.
Really? Interesting.
So it's down, beer as a whole is down about 3%, and that 3% is just shifting over to liquor. So we've got kind of excess supply, a little bit reduced demand. And so we're in a spot right now, we just have to chew through some inventory. So our volumes are going to be down for the next year or so.
Because you have inventory.
We have inventory, and it's a small market, so it's just what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
So we're taking a little hit on our volumes, but we'll get through it, and we'll come back on the other side, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm sure you've been through it, right?
Yeah,
you have the good
happens.
years, the bad years, and it all equals out.
Yeah. It's just it's a small market, so we it is interesting though. There's a beer economist in DC, and he came and talked to Prairie Grains. Yeah, I know, what a fun job, huh?
I'm a beer economist.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So for those of you listening, this is an actual job,
right? Yeah. But his if you boil down all alcohol consumption, whether it's wine, seltzers, beer, liquor, down to base ethanol essentially, so just alcohol, it's 2.5 gallons per person per year. Doesn't change, hasn't changed forever.
It's just what they're drinking.
It's
changes.
within that, what's your preference? For a few years ago, it was seltzers, right?
Yeah.
And that has settled down a little bit, and then beer has kind of come down, and liquor's picking that up. But the base alcohol consumption has not changed even through COVID.
Oh, yeah. You would have thought that was spiked.
Yeah.
That's true.
So we're working through a little tough times right now, but it's it'll get better.
Because the 3%, it sounds small, but that's significant.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
when it's across the board.
Right.
And
globally, we drink about 50 billion gallons of beer a year. So.
Wow.
That's a lot of beer.
Yeah.
It is.
So.
Yep.
So
Beers
get to
with
work.
friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready?
I think so.
For host halftime?
So
are you going to use any of those big words that you used earlier?
Vomitoxin.
I might try one. We'll see.
I mean, write the definition of, or how can you spell it? Like,
Jen has an advantage on this one.
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
Thrashing. She knows. You know.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the question. You're actually going to write an answer?
Yes,
this is how this goes? Oh, okay.
Yep. And then you got to be the judge of who wins
Who's
the point.
ever closest.
This is serious because this is our trophy. I actually won last time. It's kind of unusual lately. Heather's been super good at trivia.
Nice. Okay, so I have to ask you a question. Let's see. Well, I already gave you my first trivia. I got into my trivia with the 50 billion gallons. I gave that one away already.
Well, cross that one off the list, I guess. We probably wouldn't have remembered.
We would have never,
I'll give you a softball right away.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
What is one of the oldest crops known to be cultivated in the world? They're going to get a lot harder.
Barley.
Barley?
Yeah, and you spelt it right even. I really was going to test to see if you spelt it right. So I was waiting for a barley there. Okay.
I wonder if they were making alcohol, or were they eating it, or what were they doing?
Well, they were using probably for flour, stuff.
Baking.
Yep, for sure. Okay, now we're going to step it up a little bit.
All right. I liked the first question.
What is the term for the study of beer?
Oh, well.
Oh, boy.
Study of beer. Is there a Latin name for beer?
I don't know.
This might be I feel like I should give you a sounds like or something, but I
mean, it would be, let's just, beer science. I have no idea.
Connoisseur.
What is it?
It is actually zithology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I set you up at
zithology.
These are important things for us to remember.
Zithology.
Again, now we'll have facts. Did you know? It's kind of fun facts for our family.
Zithology. So I wonder what zith means. We got to look that up.
Yeah, I didn't give it a lot of time. I'm just kind of going off.
Do we believe him right now? We do. We do.
I could be making this up.
I mean, we trust you.
Okay. Now I'm going to give you one you probably at least have a fighting chance at.
Okay.
So in 1324, King Edward II of England standardized the measurement of 1 inch by how many grains of barley laid end to end lengthwise?
Oh.
How many grains of barley did he say would make 1 inch?
I'm thinking of the pearled barley because that's all I've ever seen, but I'm imagining it to be 2 times the length of a pearled. So 1 inch, I'm going to say 32.
Oh, I thought you were going to leave it at 3, and I was like, no way, it's 3.
It's 3?
Yep.
So they're that, really?
Well, this is the in 1324, so
they were
it's going to be more than
longer.
3 now. This is just what they standardized. They used it as a length of measurement in 1324.
That's how important barley is.
Yeah, we were back in the day.
And it was
we're
only
all time,
3.
so.
I was trying to count.
And I don't know if an inch in 1324 is what an inch is today.
And how was his eyesight, really?
Right. Yeah. It's so again, we can't verify this. This could be total garbage, but
Well, I'm just gonna keep my name on there.
Yeah, well, you should. You deserve it.
Yay.
Now I got to think what else.
Well, we got it.
We got it?
We got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
you
good.
can ask us fun trivia questions just for bonus.
Yeah.
But Jen was closest, and that's the way the game goes.
That's true. Okay, yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I should have left it as a 3.
I know. He's like...
I take a little offense to the corn cob in the cup there. That's,
I know. But we like barley, too.
A little shot. I should have came more prepared. So
we do.
We love it all. We need it all, right?
We do. Yep, absolutely.
So before you go, we have one last question. What is your favorite part about being involved in North Dakota agriculture? A lot of people say the people, which we couldn't agree more with.
We love the people.
That was actually my answer. Thanks for taking it.
I'm taking that from you.
Yep.
No, I guess I look at it like I have too much ADHD probably to like do the same job all the time, right? Like if I drove truck every day, I would get bored with it, right? Yeah. So it's very much the change, like, this time of year right now we're working in the shop, getting equipment ready, planning for, inputs and seed and such. So we're working on that. Then pretty soon we'll be outside working on the equipment. Then we'll like have this plan put together, and like now we'll get out and, implement the plan, seed the crop, and like, when the crop comes up, it's like it's a huge success, right?
Yeah, that's gotta feel good.
It's very fulfilling. And then
absolutely.
But yeah, just to change, it's like, well, about time you're done seeding, like I'm so sick of seeding, I can't do this anymore. Oh, hey, we got to go spraying now. And then, and then harvest, of course, is kind of just a big party, right? Like it's a lot of work, but it's fun watching it come the other way. And so we usually try to have a little happy hour about 6 or so.
I was going to say, add a beer in there just to promote your product.
Well, the combine guys get a little bit angry by about 6 if there's nothing in their cooler.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure.
I'm the trucker and beer procurement guy.
Okay, so you got a big job.
It's pretty serious business. So.
I love it.
I just love the change season, the change of jobs, and just putting it all together. And at the end of the year, you kind of sit back and look and analyze what you're going to do for next year, and it's always evolving. Meanwhile, you've got some barley council stuff and other jobs.
Sprinkle that in.
You're
Sprinkle
busy.
in a trip to China.
Yeah,
no
Shanghai
big
here and there.
No big deal.
Yeah. So.
But it's always something new.
It is.
And we haven't heard that answer. That's a good answer.
Yeah, that is a good answer.
Well, you took my first one, so I had to kind of shift on the fly there. So
you had a good backup.
Yes, for sure.
Well, thank you for all the information and teaching us about barley.
Yeah. It's been a new experience.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This was a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
That's
we're
good to
pretty
hear.
friendly. Not very scary, usually. Well, cool. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Awesome. That was fun.
That was fun.
Yes.
Now we have to go out for happy hour.
Well, I feel like we should have brought beer or something.
I know, right?
Right?
What time is it?
We're so rude.
Happy hour.
Oh, well, that was good.
Yeah.
Lots I didn't know about barley.
I know many things. We always learn like so many fun facts like from our guests, and it's always just fun to connect, right?
And once again, the global reach.
Global reach, right?
Every time.
I mean, we North Dakota are stars.
We really
on
are.
the world market.
Yes.
Folks, for those of you listening. We are.
Thank you for joining us. Tune in next time to CommonGround North Dakota Podcast. You can find us everywhere.
Everywhere.
And you can listen to us on Spotify.
Wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or you can watch us for our famous facial expressions on YouTube.
Yes. All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the CommonGround North Dakota Podcast. Make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Most importantly, send us your questions about North Dakota agriculture by visiting our website. You might win a prize. We'll see you in the next episode of the CommonGround North Dakota Podcast.